going to be discussing wheelchair management and wheelchair mobility. And the first thing we're going to talk about is how to work with some of the pieces and the parts of the wheelchair. And then we'll talk about some of the basic skills of getting around in the wheelchair. I am having a little bit of difficulty with my partner, as well as the location to do some of these skills, because at work we don't have any steps. Here I have some steps. Here I don't have a patient. I thought maybe I would be able to get my son, but he works until like midnight, and he takes care of people with brain injury, and so I don't know that he's going to be able to get here after all. I'm going to at least do a partial demonstration on the steps I have, but I won't have an assist. And just for, sake of argument, but we will do a curb at work, and I will have the therapist at work with me. So nevertheless, let's first go over some of the basics of the wheelchair. Here you have your locks. This is how you lock on both sides and unlock the wheelchair. Unlock, unlock. You always want to lock your wheelchair before you go to stand up and sit down. And on the back side here is where the anti-tippers are, and I took them off. They go on similar to, I don't want to stick it all the way back on, but there's a pin that it slides onto that releases, and you stick them on both sides. So I took those off for some of the wheelchair mobility that we are going to be practicing. So I'm going to back up, and I'm going to lock the wheelchair. This is one of the footrests, and to put on the footrest you have the pins there, and you put that in the hole, and you move it all the way in to make it lock, and you just release it to take it off, okay? And to fold up the wheelchair, you just grab it by the inside of the seat. And you can roll around the wheelchair like this too, like with the brakes off, which I did partially to get it here. So I'm going to reopen the wheelchair. So, just like so. And I'm going to lock it and have a seat. So one of the next things that we'll talk about is wheelchair mobility and moving on level ground. That's not too bad, right? It's really important for the wheelchair to fit somebody well, because you don't want things getting in your way when you're, so this is obviously a little bit too wide per se, or the armrests are really what's in the way for me. And the back could be a little bit lower for me as well. So moving on regular ground isn't too bad. If you want to go to the right, you just do the left wheel. If you want to go to the left, you would do just the right wheel. Just to go straight, you just do both. Go back, you would do both as well. So next thing that you would come up against is maybe inclines. So if I need to go uphill, one of the problems that you have with that is that if you take your hands off, you'll start rolling backwards, especially if it's really steep. So you need to constantly keep your hands on the grips and be fast to get up an incline. Another thing you'll want to do when you're going up an incline, especially if it's steep, is lean forward. Otherwise, you can tip back, because if it's really steep, your wheelchair can tip backwards. So you really got to get after those kinds of things aggressively, like really kind of down like this, almost like, I've seen it when it's really inclined, you are almost like kissing your knees. Now when you're going downhill, I've seen, that you can either take like S's, make an S as you're going, because you don't want to just shoot straight down the hill. That could be really dangerous. You start getting up a lot of speed and then hit a pothole and then you just fall right over. So making an S with your pattern helps you kind of slow yourself down a little bit. You could also, if you have strong arms and you're just like going down a ramp, you could really kind of keep some grip on the wheels, and that helps. And now moving into the next part that you would want to do with the wheelchair is one of the biggest fundamental things that you can learn, or one of the best skills that you can learn as a wheelchair user, is how to do the wheelie. And I talked to the therapist that I'm working with about doing one. It's kind of difficult, and I've practiced working with one, and it's hard, and I've done it by myself, and I did tip. So it's kind of interesting just to practice it by yourself, because you get an idea of really how hard it is and how hard it is to get that balance. If I'm working with somebody else, the way to do it safely for them, because they need to practice, for them to practice maybe on the grass or some soft, sort of landing, not concrete or hard ground. But as a therapist, you can teach them, it's about finding your center of balance. It's not about like cruising along and then, just lifting, because you can do a wheelie just in one place. If you got the right size chair that is made for you, you can turn back, lift back, and see. So I'm kind of getting a little bit better at it. I don't expect the therapist that I work with to be able to do it. So you can tell that I've been working at this. But if I'm training somebody, like a patient, is to take the belt and put it underneath and hook it underneath the wheelchair, like so. Which is really a great idea, right? And let them start to do like I just was doing. Let them start to get themselves up in the air, And also keep your hand here so that they don't fall forward. All right? And you have a hold of the belt, so you're not restricting them from doing some of the movement that they need to do. So you want to give it a little bit of length, but you're there if they need you. Okay? So why is it important to know how to do a wheelie? With the wheelie, once you get good at it, you have more control, and you can negotiate those obstacles better. So if you come up to a curb, just before you get to the curb, some of them, you could see some people are really good, but you get going and you're lifting your front wheels off, and then when the back wheels get there, you're gonna push yourself over. Because if you don't, you're just gonna be right into the curb. So managing curves, when you get a lot better, you can go down the ramp or go down ramps in the wheelie while doing the wheelie, and you have more control. You can keep the speed more to your liking when you're going down a ramp or an incline while doing a wheelie. Another thing is stairs. If you're doing a wheelie, and we'll go take a look at that, with assist or maybe without assist, you are able to do steps, and we'll take a look at that later. I have steps outside, so I have to set us up out there. So hopefully tomorrow with a therapist or partner, I'll be able to get her to do a wheelie, and I'll teach her how to do that here. So, yeah, it takes a lot of work. Thanks for watching.